What's the most effed up thing a family member of yours has done? I asked my uncle, who is a mechanic, if he could install new belts on my Honda since it would be much cheaper than taking it to a shop. He told me he would do it for me. I just had to buy the parts, bought the parts, took the car to him and came back a few hours later. He told me he was finished and I paid him $200 for a $450 job, which was dope. A few days later my cousin texts me a picture of some parts that his dad asked him to put on eBay. They were all the parts that he said he installed on my car. My cousin thought they may be for me since he knew what job his dad was doing for me. I called my uncle and he denied it firmly. I still had the receipt and matched the barcodes to the ones on my receipt, so they were clearly mine. My cousin, who is also a mechanic, installed them for free for me a week later. Uncle still denies it and kept my $200. Don't talk to that pleb anymore even if he's around at family gatherings.
Whom did you feel bad for in high school? 2 years ago, we had a new girl move into our school. She was an underperformer and the weakest girl in the class, academically, obviously. She was frequently scolded by every teacher for not paying enough attention, for talking too much, for not doing her homework, for not studying, for doing this and that, and you get the point. I don't exactly remember how, but one day we found out that she had a YouTube channel where she posted videos quite often. I don't know how the teachers found out. It spread around real quick, and obviously she became quite famous for that. But it wasn't a good type of famous, no. Her videos were lame and awkward, and the camera quality was so poor. The things she made videos on were even dumber. She recorded makeup tutorials where she pretended to be a celebrity, drawing animal tutorials, which always looked like a 5-year-old's drawing, no offense, and other extremely boring things. It was hard to watch, honestly. When my teachers found out about her channel, they used that as an excuse to insult her. If only you had spent your time studying rather than making crappy videos, you'd have passed this test. Listen. All that time you spend on your videos, spend half of that on studying so you don't fail your exams. Mean stuff like that. And most of the teachers would even say that they would go and check out her channel. All of that made her feel awful. This sudden fame had come uncalled. Her life certainly wasn't going easy and she left school the next year. Now that I checked, she's also deleted her YouTube account. Poor girl. I hope she's doing better now.
Entitled Parker parked in my driveway so I blocked them in and got drunk all weekend. Friday night I came home from work to find someone on our block was having a large party and someone decided they were entitled to park in my driveway. Keep in mind my driveway is a single car width lined with a retaining wall on both sides and a garage at the end. Essentially impossible for a tow truck to come pull them out without property damage. Seeing this and the lack of street parking, I took this as a cue to park right behind them in my driveway. Now a few hours go by and their entitled Parker is now knocking at my door demanding I move my car so she can leave. Seeing as they were demanding, I informed them that I had been drinking and would not move my car. The entitled Parker then decides to call the police to get them to force me to move. When the police knocked on my door, I was sure to grab a beer from the fridge before I answered to talk to the officer. I had informed him that after I got home I was unwinding and had been drinking and was in no shape to drive. At this point their hands were tied because they couldn't tow her car out. I'm in no shape to drive, and I'm legally parked in my driveway. I ended up telling the entitled Parker that since it is a long weekend I would be on a weekend-long bender and they could come move my car after I go to work on Tuesday. What was the fastest way you have seen someone ruin their life? I'll start this by saying this is all info told to me by a mutual friend. An old friend, who was 20 at the time. He was spoiled, but he wasn't a jerk. He's usually super chill and non-confrontational. He got crazy drunk at a party one night. Everything was fine and fun until his younger sister started telling him to slow down his drinking. She apparently either tried taking his keys or taking a drink out of his hand. Whatever she did, my friend ended up punching her in the face and breaking her nose. As far as me and our other friends knew, this guy had never been violent or the type to lash out. To say this shocked the people who knew him would be an understatement. Someone at the party took her to the emergency room while he tried to get in his car. Thankfully, someone else managed to keep him from driving, and he ended up drunkenly walking down the sidewalk crying. That same night, his parents called the cops on him and had him spend the night in the drunk tank. The next morning, they kicked him out of their house, stopped paying for his car, tuition, and cut off his allowance completely. He was broke within a week and was couch surfing for a few months. He allegedly got drunk and got into a fight with whoever he was staying with at the time and was back on the street. The last I ever heard about him was that he got arrested because his car was getting repossessed, and he thought it was a good idea to smash the windows of the tow truck taking his car.
When I was in high school I purposely got my girlfriend, now wife, pregnant. We were 17 and in love when our son was born. We had practiced safe sex and she was on birth control and we used condoms. I quit school to work at the steel mill with my dad and provide for my family. At 18 I asked her to marry me and she said yes, and we've been together ever since, 12 years ago now, and have 3 children together. But what she didn't know until recently is that I poked a hole in the condom. She was the most beautiful girl I'd ever met and I wanted to be with her forever, and in my fucked up teenage head poking a hole in the condom was the way to ensure she'd be in my life forever. Years later I realized how shitty that was, especially since it worked, so I told her the truth. She laughed and said, I wasn't ever on birth control. I lied. Then we both laughed.
Child, I learned a joke at school. Me, okay, let's hear it. Child, what goes in stiff but comes out soft? Me, child, me, child, me. Is it A, wife running in from other room, spaghetti at spaghetti?
The day my husband asks me to pay halves on my rent is the day I pack my bags.
And go where? You can't even afford half rent, mate.